Hi, this is Chef Dave. Stay tuned for Eating Right Every Bite because we've got some vegetarian dishes that will raise the bar on vegetarian cooking. Vegetarian entrees don't have to be bland and boring. In fact, whether you just want to add some more flavor or fiber to your meals, or if you're thinking of becoming a vegetarian, you'll love both of these delicious dishes. Green and white meatless lasagna and a primavera with zucchini, tomatoes, and corn. And like every recipe you'll see on Eating Right Every Bite, they're designed for people just like you and me, people who have had weight loss surgery. I'm Chef Dave, and for much of my life, I was a beast. So let's get started with some full-flavor, low-fat vegetarian dishes. It is an easy thing to just take the meat out of something and maybe replace it with another protein, like ricotta cheese or mozzarella cheese. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So the first thing we need to do is start our bechamel sauce. And let me tell you, it's easy. And do not let the word bechamel sauce confuse you. I have to say, as a chef, one of the very first things that I was taught in culinary school was the word mise en place. And mise en place is a French term which means everything in its place. And it is imperative that before you start this recipe, that you lay out all of your ingredients, just like I have, before you start making this dish. So why don't we go over here to the stove and let's get started. Okay, I'm going to turn my stove onto medium-high, not high, because we don't want the margarine to burn, and that's what we are using today is margarine. And so I have it on medium-high. I'm going to go ahead and add my margarine. Kind of hear it sizzling in the pan already. And these are the diced onions. Right in here. You want to cook these onions for right at about a minute. You want to get them to where they're not sweating and clear, but just enough to kind of break down the initial rawness of the onion, because you want to infuse that margarine so that the bechamel sauce actually tastes better. Okay. It's imperative that when you make this dish to not use a lot of fresh herbs and spices, because they will actually turn bitter. Because by the time you get done making the bechamel sauce, then you bake it in the oven, they're going to turn black and they're not going to be really good. So in this recipe, I'm calling for a lot of dried spices and herbs. We're going to add a little bit of nutmeg, which is a traditional ingredient in bechamel sauce. We're going to add dried parsley, dried basil, and of course, granulated garlic. I'm going to mix this up for about 20 seconds, get it all nice and mixed in. Next, we're going to add a little bit of cornstarch. This is going to help thicken the bechamel sauce. You want to make sure that you get like a heat, a plastic spatula that can actually take on a little bit more heat than what a cheapo one for like 80 cents would do. This one was like $6, so this one can take on more heat so it doesn't melt in the pan. We got this all mixed in. And then we're going to take our 2 cups of milk and add this right into our pan. I gave it a good mix here with my rubber spatula here. I'm now going to switch over to my whisk. And I'm just going to keep whisking this to make sure that it doesn't scorch, because dairy products, it's the fat in the milk that will actually start to burn. And if you scorch this dish in the beginning, you cannot use it. You'll have to start all over again. So make sure you keep a watchful eye on the bechamel sauce. And just stir it. And I like to say if you stir it like in a figure-8 motion, what happens is it'll actually get most of the bottom of the pan. And so just think of a figure-8, like ice skating or something. Okay. Well, this is about ready to bubble, so we'll finish up adding the cheese. Okay, The bechamel sauce is now simmering, which is exactly what we want it to do. And now I'm going to add my spinach, and this is frozen. And you want to make sure that when you defrost it, that you squeeze out all the moisture from the spinach before you put it into the sauce. Or it'll actually make your bechamel sauce not thick anymore. It'll actually thin it out again. We're also going to add our black olives, our cheese, and I also have Parmesan cheese, but I'm only going to add half. We're going to reserve the other half for the top when it goes in the oven. I'm going to turn my heat off because I'm done cooking it. What you're going to have is a really good, thick, ooey gooey, cheesy spinach mixture bechamel to go with our lasagna. All right, so let's go put this lasagna together. Okay, ricotta cheese mixture. This is important that you remember to do this step. We're going to add our ricotta cheese to this, but we're also going to add 1 egg. The egg is what's going to help keep the cheese from becoming too loose as it bakes. Because ricotta is a cheese, and it will actually begin to melt because of the heat. And if you don't have the egg for binding, it'll actually just run everywhere. So just 1 egg. And let me grab some salt here. So I'm going to take a little bit of pinch of salt onto this, a little bit of fresh ground pepper. I'm going to mix this in. Exactly it. It also kind of loosens up the ricotta cheese so that you can spread it out over your pasta by adding that extra egg. So it works out both ways for you. Okay, so now let me get some space here to put this here. And I also have my baking sheet pan here. I'm making a little bit of a bigger one because I want to make sure that it's great, so you can see it. But in the recipe, it calls for a little bit of a smaller pan. I'm going to spray this with some cooking spray. That way, when I go to take it out of the oven, it doesn't stick. And we really don't want to be messing with some stickiness here. A good tip. I like to use these already ready-to-use oven-baked noodles. I don't even have to boil them. If you choose to use the other noodles, you have to follow the package directions. But these are just oven-ready noodles. We're going to put these in the bottom of our pan. And then we're going to layer them. It's a little hot here. Let me grab my pan. And I'm just going to take a couple of scoops on this one. You also want to take your ricotta cheese, kind of dab it on the top here. More ricotta cheese. The other half, I should say. I'm going to take my little pasta shell things here, squeeze it on there really good. Divide it evenly on top. This is going to go in the oven at 450 degrees for just at 45 minutes. It smells delicious. Let's spread this over the top again. You want to make sure that if you use the oven-baked noodles, that you get them totally wiped over because it'll take the moisture from this mixture to help finish cooking the pasta in the oven. Okay? And of course, our Parmesan cheese, the other half, right on top. And you want to be generous because, remember, we are going to be eating vegetarian. This is even some more protein. And now that needs to cook for 45 minutes. It's exactly what it was supposed to look like. It's awesome. Looks really good. All right, let's see here. It should come right out of the pan. Wow. Look at the layers. You got the ricotta, the spinach. It's really awesome. I just love the way that this tastes and the way that it looks. It goes really, really well with just about any type of salad that you can think of, like a Caesar salad or a side salad. It makes a complete vegetarian meal. Of course, you can always add some fresh herbs to this. It's really, really good. This is going to be great. Well, I'm Chef Dave, and we'll be right back with a quick kitchen tip and a delicious recipe for some primo primavera. Be right back.